Hey everybody, it's Pastor Alan Hathaway here. I am glad you're with us. Sunday, the 15th of November, happens to be a very important day. It is National Clean Out Your Refrigerator Day. Now, I bet you didn't know that, but all of us need to do that. It's an important thing to do, especially when you realize that some of the stuff that's been in there may be growing all on its own. So refrigerators need to be cleaned out. Also, our lives at times need to be cleaned out. I invite you to come and be a part of our services today. Our service at Riverdale, at the Riverdale Community Church, begins at 8:30 this morning. Our morning worship service at the Garrison Church of God begins at 10:30. So we'd like to have you come and be a part of either of these services. Now, what's all this about cleaning out our refrigerators? Well, we get all kinds of things that get left over in our refrigerators. One of the most common ones is condiments, and those are those bottles of salad dressing or ketchup or mustard or in case of our refrigerator, we've got fish sauce in ours. We've got all kinds of different things that we keep in our refrigerators that are condiments. And those are one of the most common items, and they are one of the most long-lasting items that you can put in your refrigerator. There are also a lot of other things that are in our refrigerator. Every once in a while, I'll find a fuzzy strawberry way back in the back of our vegetable and fruit drawers. Or I will find a cucumber that, it's well on its way to being mush. And then you'll find carrots all dried out and all kinds of things. Very often in our cheese drawer, we'll find cheese that no longer is yellow, but has a really white and kind of blue gray color to it. And that tells me this is time this goes bye-bye. So very often we have a lot of things in our refrigerators that need to be cleaned out. There's a lot of reasons why we keep things in our refrigerators. Sometimes those things are things that we want to hold on to because we think we might use them in the future. Other things that we put in our refrigerator, they can be all kinds of things that are something we used in the past and we've just have forgotten about, and it's still back in the back. Sometimes it's because we put it in a container and we forget what container it's in. Like I found hot dish that's been several months old in the back of our refrigerator that was put in a Cool Whip container and left there, and we forgot about it and didn't know what it was and didn't open it up and didn't find out until much later. So those are things that happen in our lives. You know, that happens in our spiritual lives as well. There are things that get stuck in there that were once useful but are no longer useful. There are things that we start out with in our Christian walk that helped us at the beginning, but we have made them more important. One of the interesting things that happened early in our marriage was that we tried to save part of our wedding cake to share on our first anniversary. Well, it got stuck in the back of the freezer and we lost track of it, and we didn't get to it until almost 2 years later. When we did try and taste it, it was absolutely awful. And sometimes memories are like that in our lives, aren't they? They are things that we hold on to, thinking that this is going to remind us of what things were or what things should have been. But in reality, the memory doesn't taste nearly as good as the reality. Very often, that's somewhat like our Christian relationship. We try and live off of a past experience, off of a memory, without having a relationship with Christ. Something else that happens in our refrigerators, it's something that frustrates the life out of my wife, Terry, is I like to fish. And I buy worms or leeches or things like that to go fishing with. and the next day, and so I'll come home and pop them in the refrigerator in their little tubs, and I think nothing of it. However, when my wife discovers them, I get a lecture on the use of the refrigerator and the proper use of the refrigerator. Do you know there's a lot of things that we put in our lives that shouldn't be there? Sometimes things that are very destructive to us. We sometimes harbor sins and attitudes and things that we keep in there that we think, well, it's okay if I put this in there. It's just for a short time. It won't really have a dramatic impact. But it's not really what the refrigerator of our lives is really all about, is it? It's not really what God intended in our lives. That's one of the problems with what we keep in that refrigerator and what we continue to keep. Some things are spoiled because we think, well, if it's in that refrigerator, it's being kept. One of the problems we have in our house is with fruit. I like to eat fruit a lot. My wife likes to keep it because I think it probably helps her think that it keeps the refrigerator full. And if it's in there, it's not deteriorating. But things in our refrigerator do deteriorate. It doesn't stop spoilage, it slows down the process. There are certain things that we hold on to in our life. Jesus would talk to us about the idea of burying our talent or burying that thing which God has placed in our life to accomplish things. And we bury it and put it in the back of the refrigerator thinking it will be safe and stored and secure, and we never get around to really using it because we want to keep it full. We want to keep it as it is. But things don't work that way. And sometimes we need to clean out the refrigerator because we need to get certain things moving in our lives in a direction that is helpful and purposeful. All of us have those kinds of struggles in our spiritual lives. Refrigerators kind of remind us that that's kind of the kind of things that go on in our lives. We tend to hold on to things that we shouldn't, and we tend not to hold on to things that we should. Spiritually, I've had those moments when, or the embarrassment when I have pulled out cream for somebody's coffee that has been visiting at our house and realized that half and half or that cream now is sour and it kind of glops out of the carton. And that is one of the embarrassments in our lives, that we have not checked on those conditions spiritually, and things have soured inside of us. They've gotten bad inside of our hearts, inside of our lives, and that's not a good thing. God wants us to have a fresh, dynamic relationship with Him each and every day. The Apostle Paul would say to the Corinthians, get rid of or purge out the old yeast and begin fresh and new. There's a need in our lives to periodically go through our spiritual inventory, to see what we've kept in our refrigerator too long and maybe get rid of it. And maybe if there's some stuff in there that shouldn't be, like in my case, worms or leeches, that we probably need to get rid of those too. Because you know what? Sin is destructive to our relationship with God. It destroys who we are and what we are. So as Christians, it's important that we clean out our spiritual refrigerators. You have a wonderful day today. God bless you. Hope to see you in church. Take care. God bless.